Okay.
You go. What have you got? I'm scared.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm putting my big girl knickers on. Okay.
Okay.
There is absolutely no way on this planet when you have children that you can avoid tears. And we need to get comfortable with crying in order to move forward.
If you have tried everything, but you haven't tried sleep training, you have not tried everything.
Sally, wow.
I know. That is often the missing piece of the puzzle. We've got all these fans and now we're about to lose them all because today we're going to follow the trend of advice we'd give you as sleep consultants if we weren't afraid to hurt your feelings.
Yes.
Disclaimer, we are so afraid to hurt your feelings.
We are so
Terrified.
afraid.
Welcome back, Nap Trappers. Hi, Beck.
Hey, Sal, how are we going?
Good. I was actually thinking of you this morning in my sweaty hot mat Pilates class. I know, you live rent-free in my head most days. But listeners will know that we often talk about delay getting baby up in the morning, delay getting baby up from a nap. Yeah. And my Pilates instructor this morning said, resist. And I was like, we need to somehow add that into the vernacular of nap trapped, as I had to do some sort of horrific glute exercise and go slow on the way down. It was resist. But maybe we can change that. Resist getting your baby up. Resist.
I know. Or resist offering the dinner too close to bedtime. Like little things like this. Resist.
Exactly. Resist.
We could add it in for sure.
We'll add it in. I thought of you. Yeah, I thought of you. I was like, I must tell Beck about this on the podcast. I really probably should have been concentrating on the exercise at hand, but no, I'm always thinking about you and baby sleep. Before we dive into today's episode, which is actually a fun one, which you and I are both people pleasers, and I think we're probably going to be a bit scared, but we have some fan mail. And I thought, what a nice way to start an episode by hearing a success story that landed in my DMs from Kayla, who said, hello again, just a quick success story regarding above. She'd emailed a question post an episode previously. We are now 2 weeks in with no overnight feeds after cutting back from 4 hourly anchored overnight feeds. With consistency and perseverance, our 9-month-old slept, insert capital letters here, through the night, 12 hours in brackets last week, and has only been waking once for a very quick resettle. We are currently navigating the early rise after dropping the third nap and feel like we know what and when we need to tweak, thanks to the podcast. The info you share is so informative, very useful, real and honest. I love it. I've been telling anyone who will listen about the Nap Trapped pod. It's seriously been amazing for a first-time mum. Keep up the awesome work and thanks again.
Oh, that is so amazing.
Isn't that
Thank you
so
much,
lovely?
Kayla. That is beautiful. I think, it was being able to reach so many people was one of the key, reasons why we started this podcast, so that we could, it's small tweaks and tips.
Small tweaks.
Yeah.
Also, my sleep consultant brain also wants to say, hey, Kayla, totally normal for an early rise to pop up once you've fixed overnight issues.
Oh, yeah.
That's always the last thing that appears, in our 2-week packages, and we'll fix that out. Yeah. So everything is textbook. And to feel empowered about what to do and how to do it, that's our goal, right?
Yeah, and I think it really highlights, potentially not the way that I convey the information, but the way that you are able to fluff it out and make it seem and sound so easy. That's your total skill, Sally, is that you're able to
thank you.
To allow this information to flow freely, and for families and parents, in particular, to be able to put it into practice.
Well,
so
I learned at the feet of the master in terms of great baby sleep advice from you, and can chat.
Yes,
I have been kicked out of every classroom, even in year 12. And I was school captain, and I got asked to leave a year 12 health and human development class because I was too busy chatting. So,
were you chatting about the work or chatting about what was going on the weekend?
Yes.
All of the above?
Of course I was talking about. Well, no, if I'm thinking about the podcast during Pilates, I definitely wasn't thinking about the schoolwork in the class. I know. If only podcasts were a thing back then.
Oh my goodness, you'd be a rich woman.
For good.
Yes.
Yeah. Still waiting on those sponsorships, Baby Bunting and Ergo Pouch.
Oh my God. Oh, I'm so happy that the fan mail's coming in, and it is so lovely to hear that. One of the perks of our job is improving people's lives, and like
Yes.
that sounds so dramatic, doesn't it? But
no,
it really
does, but it's not an exaggeration at all.
Yeah.
It's so true. And now to the scary part of the episode where maybe we've got all these fans and now we're about to lose them all. Because today we're going to follow the trend of advice we'd give you as sleep consultants if we weren't afraid to hurt your feelings. Yes. Disclaimer, we are so afraid to hurt your feelings.
We are so afraid. Yeah.
We're going to pretend we're not, though. Okay?
This is correct. Yes, absolutely. Just 1 second. I just need to turn the RoboVac off. Just one second, listeners. Okay. I don't know if we're going to keep that in or not, but, like a little delay there.
Delay.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Who wants to go first? I think I'm going to try and sound mean, and then we'll be nice. We'll explain it in a nice way.
All right. So, okay. All right, cool.
You go first.
Oh my God, I'm so nervous. Okay, all right. So things we would tell
Chronic people pleasers here.
Yeah, if we didn't want to hurt your feelings. Okay, I'm going to go in with...
No, if we weren't afraid to hurt your feelings.
Oh,
your Freudian slip already of if we don't want to hurt your feelings. That's what we do the rest of the time. No, today we're going to hurt feelings.
Okay, we're hurting feelings. Okay. We want you to step away from the monitor. We want you to turn the sound off.
Good one.
Go and do your thing. We just...
Don't look at it.
It's so easy to get really wrapped up in what's going on in the bedroom, like in your child's bedroom, and easy to become a little bit flustered and overwhelmed if they're not falling asleep readily and easily, and overwhelmed if they're waking in the night and they're not necessarily doing anything loud or requiring assistance, but you're sitting there watching and listening to it all unfold, and suddenly there feels like this problem that you need to go and solve, when actually if you didn't have the sound on that monitor, you'd absolutely have no idea. Absolutely no idea. There's I love a monitor and I hate a monitor for reasons where it's so great to be able to see the progress that you're making, and particularly at bedtime when you're able to put your child down and do your sleep training technique, and you can watch and when you need to go in and when you don't need to go in. And on the flip side of that is that you can see absolutely everything when it's unnecessary. So
you can know too much.
You can know too much. This is it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Particularly,
No, you go.
I was just going to say that, if you've got a home where you can hear your child crying or your baby crying, there's potential for you to not ever turn that sound on. Your hearing
I never did.
No, I didn't even have a monitor for the kids.
I didn't have one for my first baby, never had one, and I only got one because for my second, he was probably 5 months old by the time I got it, was because I could hear the baby in the apartment underneath, and I kept racing into mine, and it was actually Josephine downstairs.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I didn't, it's not a flex at all that I didn't have a monitor. It's just that we had an apartment, we were living in a unit, and the rooms were right next door. I could hear a pin drop in Dexter's room. And then as the kids got older and we moved different homes, I realized that your sense of hearing is just so sharp, so sharp. And if you've got a little cherub who is carrying on in their nursery or their bedroom, and you're a little bit worried about not being able to hear them, I can guarantee there is absolutely no way you'll miss your child crying in the middle of the night if they really need
Unless you sleep on my husband's side of the bed.
Oh,
it seems that
yes,
nothing can be heard from over there.
Yes,
really not afraid to hurt feelings today, Sally.
Actually, when my first was born, Ben, my husband, used to jump up and try and help, for the first couple of weeks. Like, is there anything I can do? Can I bring you anything? And I was like, no, I've got this. It's fine. And then from
Yeah.
that point onwards, he never woke again. So
Yeah.
I think he always realized that there was, like, subconsciously, Beck's got it covered. Just as I'm sure Mr.
Yeah.
Sleep Concierge thought the same about you, Sal. You've got
Even
it
last
covered.
night, there was a bad dream and I shook him. Your turn. Your turn. I've done 6 years. It's your turn.
Yeah.
I do find the monitor can be helpful when we're actually sleep training, because sometimes I'll say, okay, well, have a quick look, they're calm, has the dummy fallen out, and then, but walk away from it. Go and enjoy the nap time as well. I see often the setup of, I'm going to sit and have the monitor right here while I'm doing things. Leave them to it. You enjoy, you can switch off. Again, you'll hear them. If you need to check, go and have a quick look, but step away from the monitor.
Well,
I'm
this is
often,
true. Yeah.
oh no, you go.
No. I'd like to hear what you said.
I was just going to say, I'm often asking clients, when we check in the morning, would you have heard that? Even just for my own knowledge, like, because I'm not there, I can't hear it, I can't see it. If you had if you didn't have a monitor, if you had the sound off, would you have heard them? If the answer is no, we don't need to worry. It's nothing to see here. Doesn't register for me.
Yeah. And look, I also think that, listeners will also have heard me talk about the naps and how I was able to get the 30-minute nap in the morning and the 2.5-hour nap in the afternoon for all 3 kids. And, of course, there's going to be days where there would have been days where one of the babies would have woken up early. Potentially they only slept 12:30 till 2:30. I wouldn't know because I was busy with
You
the
went
other
in at
kids. I was
3.
hanging I went in at 3
Yeah.
because I didn't have a monitor to actually register, oh, they've actually been awake since 2:30. If they're not crying and super duper upset, then I don't actually really know what time they woke. I'm just going to assume that it was 3, like we always do, and we've set that sort of, that internal rhythm for them to expect that they're going to be in the cot for that length of time, and they're happy to chill in there. So I think that that's also one of those things where switch it off. You've put your baby down, and if you feel comfortable doing it, switch the monitor off or turn it around so you're not watching it as your favorite show, because it is it becomes overwhelming when you're sort of like willing and wishing your child to be able to, come on, mate, just sit down. I want you to sit down. Like you're willing, wishing, it's becoming frustrated. The time is ticking away. You're sort of thinking, oh my gosh, if you don't sit down now and fall asleep within the next 3 minutes, then that's it. We're going
it's
to be
all that
cooked for the
anxiety
night.
building.
Yeah.
I had the Cubo AI for when I did have one, and it just connects to your phone, so you could watch it on your phone if you wanted to. And didn't have any sound on or anything, but on the first night, I remember I hadn't figured out how to turn off notifications. So I hadn't heard them overnight, but I woke up to this whole stream of every rollover, squawk, burp, everything that I was like, huh? He woke how many times between sleep cycles? But it alerts to all sorts of different things. And I was like, I haven't heard a thing. He's the happiest baby in the morning. These are all the normal movements and things that, and so I just turned the notifications off. But that was a intense way to wake up, being like, oh my God, did I miss something?
Especially because there's no way of stopping baby from waking. Babies will wake multiple times overnight. And as they're moving through sleep cycles, they move through an active phase. So they could be grumbling, moaning, rolling around, low-grade grizzling, low-grade crying, high-pitched squeals. They're not necessarily
Blowing
awake. They don't necessarily
raspberries.
need anything. But here we are sort of like sprung awake because the monitor has literally jolted you. Like, the sound is like, oh my gosh. And like, that feeling of like, oh my gosh, baby's awake and your stomach drops because you're like, oh, now I've got a settle to deal with. And potentially you wouldn't hear that if you didn't have the monitor on. So, or the sound on is what I'm saying. Like peace of mind, if you want to have the video on, totally fine. But if you're particularly anxious around sleep, that can be a really great way to sort of lower the intensity. Even though I'm
and not
sure
over-respond.
it feels like, oh my gosh, but if I don't know exactly what they're doing, like the what ifs.
Yeah.
But it settle the nerves a little bit by taking the sound away as an option, potentially.
I agree. Quick pause. If you're finding this helpful, make sure you're subscribed to Nap Trapped. New episodes drop every week and we cover everything from sleep regressions to daycare naps to night weaning. Head to naptrappedpodcast.com to subscribe and grab our free sleep resources while you're there. You'll also find our full episode library so you can search by your baby's age or the specific issue you're dealing with. Okay.
Right.
Whew, okay, we're one down. All right, I've got one.
Okay.
If you have tried everything, but you haven't tried sleep training, you have not tried everything.
Sally, wow.
I know.
I agree.
I think I hear from families and also just see this on social media all the time. You know, everyone, please give me your advice. I have tried everything. I have rocked, I have fed, I have patted, I have co-slept, I have increased, I have made them cooler, I've made them hotter, I've done all of these things. But have you tried sleep training? I'm talking about formalized teaching your baby to self-settle, most likely with a behavioral technique and followed through consistently overnight, rinse and repeat multiple times on a great schedule. Mm-hmm. And that is often the missing piece of the puzzle. It's a really great place sometimes to get to when you have tried all of those other things, because if sleep is still messy and unsustainable, then from a process of elimination, you can be like, I've tried all of these things. I've been in the room, I've done the dummy, I've done the feeding. Okay, we haven't got much else left. And there's actually a really great evidence-based reason as to why behavioral sleep training techniques exist and why that can be the thing that is the absolute game changer for so many babies and families. So I say this with love. If you feel like you have tried everything, but you have not yet tried sleep training, you haven't tried everything, which means there's still things to do. There's the positive spin.
That's the silver lining, I believe. Like there's still things to try. And the key would be, you know, potentially that the things that you may have, I've tried everything, that sort of term, you might have tried it once. So, you know, like I gave pick up, put down a go, I've tried space soothing, I've tried, you know, and you've given it a whirl, but you haven't seen the results that you had hoped would happen magically immediately, then no, you haven't tried it properly. You haven't tried sleep training properly.
And also the way that we do it, you know, as we always talk about, the sleep training technique and the sleep training part is the icing on the cake. Do it in conjunction with the great schedule and the great milk feeds and the great solids and the timings and the whole shebang, and then the intimidation factor should lessen if that's what's been holding you back from truly trying everything.
Yeah, that's right. And if your confidence is lacking because you are really unsure if it's the right step, the right move, the right technique, then get a sleep consultant on board. They will be your guiding light and they will be your unflappable leader. And that's how that's how you gain the confidence. You get somebody to go over your scheduling, make sure you're all tickety-boo in every single department so that your technique then works. Your sleep training will work. There's
okay.
Give it a whirl.
Give it a whirl. All right.
Okay.
You go. What have you got? I'm scared.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm putting my big girl knickers on. Okay.
Okay.
If you can't handle 2 minutes of crying, we are not your people.
Oh, savage.
Oh, it is savage. It is super, super savage. And I say this with love as well. There is absolutely no way on this planet when you have children that you can avoid tears. And we need to get comfortable with crying in order to move forward. Whether that's getting in the car and going for a drive to grandma's, which is 40 minutes away. Like there's absolutely no way that we can keep stopping to pull over and stop the tears, cuddle, you know, get baby back in and then back in the car.
Cried in the car so badly to the point where I moved house. I moved house to be closer to my daughter's childcare because I didn't want to take her out of that because I could not do that drive anymore because from a newborn, it absolutely broke me. There is no way I could have stopped. There's no way I couldn't have not got in the car.
Absolutely. Like there's like life is difficult. Life with children is difficult. Like getting a handle on life with children is super, super difficult. And we just can't stop the tears. Like we just have to, and it's not, crying is not all traumatic. Not
No,
all
it's not always
tears are,
distress.
yeah.
It's
Yep.
tired, it's hunger, it's boredom, it's
Yeah.
frustration,
Yeah.
it's
I'm in an uncomfortable
communication.
position. I
Yeah,
am,
or I don't know
I'm
what's
looking,
going on.
it's the end of the day. I'm neurologically tapping out here.
Yep.
Like, I don't like the smell of your perfume, Grandma. I don't,
Yeah. Yeah.
like, honestly, it could
Gosh,
be
that's me.
absolutely anything. Um,
It could
and
also be this is too stimulating, like, stop rocking me, I don't like this.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I just want families to understand that crying is normal. And when we're teaching a new skill, if we're doing some sleep training, the way that you and I work is that we, like I said before, we are dotting all the I's, we're crossing all the T's to make sure that when we start sleep training, that the reason at bedtime that there could be some tears is simply because they don't have the ability to self settle,
Mm,
not for any other reason. And when you don't know how to do something, the only way to learn is to practice. You have to be
mm,
given opportunities. You have to practice. More practice makes better. Everything sort of
mm,
starts to slot into place. Like, but unless you have some good practice and you are allowed that opportunity to be frustrated in the moment that you don't know how to do something,
mm,
then but if we're always trying to stop the crying, stop the crying, stop the crying, then it becomes really, really difficult to see a way forward, um, because tears are normal. Tears are part of baby life, and
mm.
as much as the next person, I always try and minimize tears wherever possible. But
Yeah, of course.
we do
But we
a
can't make
couple
it
of
stop.
minutes of tears. Yeah, is not going to hurt.
I think also because you and I do it so often, both in the room, hands on, like all sorts of different
Mm,
techniques, I think people would be surprised about how many tears there can be even in your arms. And with the families that we work with, tears with parents sitting by the cot, even. And I think that needs to be normalized too, because it's often thought about, oh, well, you must just have to be out of the room or doing true cry it out
yeah.
for there to be tears. No, if anything, some of the worst crying from babies that my families have experienced is sort of night one when they've wanted to, and understandably, try an in room, and then that baby's like, this is not working for
Mm,
me,
yeah.
and we pivot. But yeah, we can't stop crying. I do not believe that there is any such thing as no tear sleep training or cry free. I think if a baby doesn't cry, fantastic, the stars aligned, and it's most likely temperament. And definitely, I have worked with babies who haven't cried. I couldn't pick it if I tried.
No. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a delight. Because
Yeah.
as
It's
you said,
lovely.
it's always our goal to minimize this. Um, but I also think that often if you feel like if you hear that and that's a bit triggering in terms of I'm so I'm really struggling with hearing my baby cry for 30 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes, is that I think that for me, I really struggled with postnatal anxiety and depression, and
Mm,
hearing and crying was triggering for that, in which case I would say you could put sleep training on hold or outsource it, residential sleep school, or get your partner to do it or something, and look after yourself and
mm,
work on, I'm not going to say fixing your,
mm,
anxiety or depression, but working on that so that then when you're ready, it's less of a trigger and you're starting from a completely different playing field.
mm.
Does that make
I
sense?
also It does, it totally makes
Okay,
sense,
good.
and I because I do always want to be sensitive to parents who are struggling in that department, but I also feel like the more it is allowed,
Mm,
you're in a loving environment. Like your child is lacking absolutely nothing. You know,
Yes, yes.
you are loving on them, hugging them. There's touch connection. You are filling up their love tank all through
Mm,
the day.
mm,
And even with all of that, there will still be tears. And I
mm.
think if you can start to relax a little bit on the crying, you'll start to sort of hear the differences in the tears and what is
Mm,
super urgent and what is maybe a little bit more low grade. Because I
mm.
think for families too, there's no scope when they're constantly wanting to fix. Because I know that it is a feeling within us as
Oh, yeah.
mums, particularly, that once you hear a little what your child cry, you feel like you need to fix it immediately,
Mm, mm,
immediately.
mm,
Uh, but when we do that, we don't sort of have that scale of crying, which is really important to start hearing in order to learn when to respond and when to maybe just hang fire just a little bit.
mm.
Because for a lot of families, like on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being like a light little grizzle and 10 being like absolutely losing their mind,
Mm, mm.
4, which would be like still a light grizzle, like just getting a little bit irritated at this point,
Yeah.
might be a 10 out of 10 for some families.
Yes.
And so if you can allow a little bit to happen and respond accordingly and with it within your comfort levels, um, you start to hear a little bit more. And sometimes you hear them do the most incredible things, and it's not uncommon for families to sort of say, "Oh my gosh, I thought they were a 10 out of 10." And like they were doing that for 7 minutes and then boom, they're asleep. Like
They're asleep.
how can they be so upset and then
Mm,
fast asleep within seconds? And it's really hard to listen to, but also incredible to listen to
mm,
because you backed them in that moment. You backed them, gave them a little bit of space. You were always responding, always reassuring, whether you're in room or out of the room, but they were able to do it for themselves. And then you can sort of see, well, actually, the crying wasn't such a bad thing at all. It was just
mm.
them potentially using the very last of their sleep pressure to get off to sleep, because a lot of babies are, I am so tired, and they have a little emotional release leading
Yeah.
up to falling asleep that they're like, oh my God, thank God I'm in my bed. Holy moly, that was a big afternoon. And then boom, they're out.
Yeah.
So it's backing your baby, backing yourself as well, just to sort of listen to
Yeah.
a little bit more and be okay with it. It's hard to stop.
So something I talk about with my families all the time as well about crying. Maybe we should do a whole crying episode. The chapter in my
Yeah.
sleep guide is called The C Word. And I'm like, let's just rip the band-aid on the C word of crying. Um,
Yeah.
is that it is not as binary of either my baby cries or they're attached. I think attachment and a baby crying in the sleep training process is often where the emotion really starts to come into it for parents, and the fear mongering, particularly from online.
Yeah.
That babies cry for lots of different reasons, just as we've talked about. The other thing I often sort of coach parents through is that we often need to increase our threshold for crying.
Mm.
It doesn't have to be drastic. You don't have to do true extinction or anything like that. And I actually think sometimes I get families to imagine that their first baby is, in fact, that they've got a second. And someone
Yeah.
asked me the other day, is it okay if my baby cried for 3 minutes? And based on Beck, your statement of you can't handle 2 minutes of crying, we're not your people. Yeah, 3 minutes of crying is fine, because if I also think back, I would have had a toddler in the bath and my second baby would have woken up. I
Mm.
cannot leave a 2-year-old in the water alone,
Yeah.
even though I can feel it under my skin.
Yeah.
I can't get to him. I just
Mhm.
cannot get to him. Same in the car. And I
Yeah.
also think that having been a pediatric nurse where babies cried for
Mm.
lots of different reasons, I probably, unbeknownst to me, once I really truly started sleep consulting and then having my own children, I also had a different perspective around crying. There's crying because you don't want to do something. There is crying because I can't get to 3 babies at once, but boy, am I trying. There's the crying just before they go to sleep. There is crying because I got my arm out, and then there's crying because of pain. There's
Mm.
all sorts of different meanings behind it. And so I think, unbeknownst to me, I went into parenting and sleep consulting with a very different perspective because I had been around a lot of babies crying at different times.
Mm.
So Yeah, in order to sleep train, if you're struggling with the crying, we need to work on building your threshold for
Mm,
crying.
this is correct.
All right, I'll go next. Mine is that a lot, not all, not all. I find that a lot of gentle sleep consultants are in fact the cause of most of the shame and fear mongering in the baby sleep
Mm.
world.
Mhm.
And the irony of selling yourself as gentle and yet being so incredibly shaming
Mm.
is wild to me. And gentle, as we've talked about in another episode about Are We Gentle, is one of the biggest marketing buzzwords. I think it's like number one or number two in the most Googled words along with baby sleep. And I think that when you tie yourself, I feel shame. And I can go back to the evidence and, you and I, Beck, yesterday both reposted this amazing, we'll
Mm.
put it, maybe we'll add
So
it
good.
into our newsletter or
Yeah.
something, this incredible pediatrician just dispelling all of this absolute nonsense about
Mm.
the harm of sleep training and baby sleep. And don't get me wrong, nobody has to sleep train. Nobody. You do
Mm.
not have to do it. It is a personal choice, but it rubs me up the wrong way when people call themselves gentle, yet are actually some of the harshest in terms of their ability to shame a parent for sleep training their baby, which is evidence based.
Mm. It's it it makes me feel like I can't compete with someone who says they're gentle because
Mm,
I am very hesitant to use the word
mm,
because even though I know that through all these years of doing the work, we minimize tears wherever possible. And
yeah.
and we do this with creating confidence and creating these amazing schedules for babies to thrive on, create great sleep pressure, all the things.
You can have your personal preference, you can have your personal style, but just kind of like throw because I think what they're trying to do often is throw us under the bus, like you and I that are like, we're sleep consultants. We dabble in all the techniques. Beck, you often use this great analogy of, if we step into a library and you think about how many books are on the shelves, that's how many techniques we can pull from, we can mash them
Mm,
together. I
yeah.
think it's to like shame us and say, come over to me. But you end up shaming all these parents that, again, have been like, well, I did try everything. I've tried all the things you're telling me to do. It's not
Mm,
getting any better. And there's a reason why. But it comes back onto how on
yeah.
earth could you let your baby cry for 2 minutes?
100%. I think you've hit the nail on the head.
Thank you.
And yeah, it's really difficult.
But it's also just not evidence based. I said to my husband yesterday after I sent him that great clip that you and I
Mhm.
were looking at, I was like, how can anyone that disagrees, well, no, not disagrees, you're allowed to disagree, but anyone that spouts misinformation, how can you be so confident in your bullshit?
Oh,
Excuse my language.
so good. I love that. I I also feel
Because
like
here is the literature. Here are the
yeah.
citations.
Mm. The idea behind gentle is that, well, I think what they're trying to capture in an audience that will come over to them is 0 to very little crying or tears
Mm,
and working on a secure attachment sort of idea that if there are lots of tears, then your attachment is going to suffer.
mm,
Um, and I know from experience what I've had plenty of clients, and you would have too, that have been to gentle in inverted commas,
mm.
sleep consultants, and they've come to us because the techniques haven't worked. And you're like, well, what were the techniques? And I mean, no bloody word of a lie. I mean, sorry if anyone's tried this before, but sand play has been a technique to try and
Sorry, for
get
bed?
a for yeah, like sand play during the day, like putting the baby's feet in sand and have like sand therapy to try and get your little one to sleep better. Like this is well, they're not sleep training because they're gentle sleep consultants. So they
Oh,
don't sleep train, but they'll do sand therapy or play
I mean,
therapy
that
to
sounds
try and
fun, and
encourage
we
you to
can
sleep.
do all
Sounds
of those
great,
sorts of
great.
things. Anyway, it
Did
doesn't
it
help the
did it
sleep.
help? But also there's, and then I sort of will ask, somebody else, and the technique was to use such massive wake windows
Ah,
that
yeah,
their
that's a
baby
really common
is
one. It's all sleep pressure. It's
completely
all sleep science.
it's all sleep pressure. No sleep training involved, it's sleep pressure, and so they have these mammoth wake windows, and then baby is just passes out.
Mm,
And then what happens is the baby might wake a few hours later, and then they'll pop a feed in there, and then the
mm,
feed happens, and then all of a sudden it's bedtime, time to wake up. So it could just be an 8-hour night with one feed. So technically, this sleep consultant might have just said that's a perfect night. Only one waking for a genuine feed, and then back down again. But you and I would see this completely different.
mm.
And so it's, and then the other side of that is that actually the gentle sleep training techniques that they're using, or gentle techniques, haven't actually been that gentle, because they've been very, very long, lengthy settling periods. And in order, it's hard. And they're just not
Yeah,
conducive to sleep or that little one's temperament at all.
yes. Yes, yes, all of the above. I think you also hit the nail on the head. They play on the attachment fear,
Mm,
and the research does not back that sleep
mm,
training ruins attachment. What can make attachment tricky can also be parental depression and being so sleep deprived and grumpy and
mm,
short tempered and not enjoying it compared to, and I'm not saying that's going to ruin attachment, but it makes the day to day so much harder
mm,
compared to when you're doing this from a really well rested
mm,
place as a family.
mm,
So that's my hot take. And it's
mm,
something I think about all the time because the algorithm serves me all sorts of baby sleep content. And
mm,
again, we are not for everyone, and that's okay. But I feel like so
mm.
much of the shame and the outright blatant misinformation and fear mongering comes from many gentle, quote unquote, sleep consultants who
Mm.
fuel that fire and profit off it. And it stops parents and families changing their life for the better in an evidence
Mhm.
based way.
Here, here. I agree.
That is my TED talk. All right, I
Thank
think
you,
we've got time for
Sally.
one more. What are you going to be mean
No.
about now?
Oh my goodness. Okay. Oh my God. I feel like listeners are gonna hate me. Okay. I've got my shield on today.
Okay.
Come at me.
Well, you're about to go on holidays. That's why you can throw these
Yeah.
bombs out there and then get on a plane.
Okay. This one, ooh, you're confusing your demand feeding with quietening your baby. Okay,
Oh,
so what
yeah.
I'm going to
Yeah,
this sort
say
of
more.
goes back. Kind of goes back to one of the other topics that we sort of covered just before. Is that if you are a little uncomfortable with your child having a few tears and crying, you want to fix this really quickly. And if the rocking and the holding isn't working, I think quite naturally you're just going to assume hunger, and then you pop a boob in or you pop a bottle in, and that quietens baby down, stops
Mm,
her crying. And then we just sort of blanket statement this as demand feeding. So if my child is, yep, I demand feed. So we do, every, couple of hours there's a feed, and sometimes there can be some feeds, even more if my baby is a really hungry baby. And absolutely demand feeding has its place, and it absolutely can work for many, many families. Um, I just want families to consider their ability to opt for allowing a little one to have a frustrated moment or a bored moment or a I'm just upset with the world moment without
mm,
necessarily feeding to quieten baby down
yeah.
and stop the tears. Gosh, that's going to come across so mean, isn't it? Like,
No, I think Where confusion often lies for a lot of my families, and, we've done episodes where we've talked about how you feed your baby, when you feed your baby is none of our
Mm.
business unless we are actively working to help you fix a sleep problem, in which
Mhm.
case we have a very set way, and we will always explain why, so you don't feel like we're just telling you, well, don't feed your baby at that time.
Yeah, yeah. Mm.
But, I breastfed exclusively both of my, and I feel like the demand feeding is often a little bit more associated with breastfeeding parents versus bottle feeding, although there's still, bottles sneak in often overnight. But I breastfed both of mine exclusively, and you are taught to feed on demand. Whenever
Mm.
baby looks at you, basically pop them on. But what can end up happening is how demand is demand, because I
Mm.
work with families who, if we went with interpreting all of these overnight wakings as demand feeding, they're demanding to be fed twice an hour, every hour overnight at
Yeah.
the ripe age of 11 months.
Mhm.
That's not sustainable. So if we sort of look at, well, how demand
Mm.
is how I sometimes frame it. And often parents, when we talk about it, they're like, yeah, absolutely. I just don't know how to break out of that. And that's where
Mm.
we come in. We're like, totally get you. This is what you're going to
Mm.
do. This is where you're going to place your feeds. This is what you're going to feel like. This is what's going to happen when the first feed's not that. It doesn't feel
Mm.
as chunky as you're hoping. And you're going to push her and like, this is, and then you're already out of like you're already on the up on day one or night
Mm.
one. And we never do it in a cold turkey way.
Mm. This is true. Good.
But
I like how
there
I
has
like
to
the way you're
be
explaining it. I feel less
but
mean. I
there
feel less mean. Sally to the rescue.
well, it's always like we could say the things in the like the blunt way, but you and I like to then like say more. um
Yeah.
because we're not saying don't feed your baby. We're not
No.
saying you're doing something wrong. It becomes a crutch often.
Yeah.
And when you're wanting to make change, and this is where the doubt comes in, if you've gone into the night and you've demand fed multiple times, all this snacking, snack all day, either baby needs genuine snack all night, or you may also be so tired that you also just think, I just need to nip this in the bud, just like whip out a boob. Just whip out
Yeah.
a boob. Just make a bottle.
Mm. Mhm.
And that's what's going to keep you in this holding pattern, or part of what's going to keep you in this holding pattern from breaking out of that and moving forward and getting lovely longer chunks of sleep,
Mm.
even if there's still feeds in the mix.
Mm.
We have to separate this, because no one also then follows up with, okay, well, how's demand feeding going at 10 months? They just sort of, we get taught and then left with
Mm.
this mantra, demand feed. Ah,
Mm.
I'm demanding
Yeah.
you to not
And
demand feed the whole time.
yeah, the demand feeding, like I think with particularly through the day with a younger baby, they are. There's so many reasons why they could be upset. We could have missed their wake window. They could be, they could be struggling with wind. They could be popping a tooth. There could be so many things. And if they're crying and you've just offered like a quick little feed like an hour ago and now they're crying again, your confidence is not there. Like you don't have the
Mm,
confidence to sort of go, okay, well, I know you're not hungry. So I'm just going to persevere with something else or
mm,
switch it up and change, scenery or that type of thing. It becomes this whole, okay, well, I'm not sure why you're crying. So now I'm going to pop another boob in your mouth or a bottle in your
mm,
mouth just to sort of, I don't want you to be crying. And I
mm,
don't know what it is that you're crying about. And then so a boob or a bottle feed is going to sort of solve the crying element.
mm.
Um, so,
And we
mm,
say all of this knowing that there is way more to feeding than
mm,
just nutrition.
yep.
Absolutely. That is definitely not up for debate. When you are wanting to make active change and help your baby sleep better, we
Mm,
need to remove the crutch of constant topping up through this idea of demand feeding. It's redistribution of calories, it's not
mhm,
dropping feeds.
mhm. And essentially, I would imagine that once we've sort of established these full feeds, say we're doing a
Mm,
4 hour scheduling sort of through the day, in the end, it does become demand feeding because your baby is then demanding a
They're
feed
hungry
every
at the
4 hours.
Yeah.
So you can still demand feed. It's just on a schedule.
Totally. And I also tell families, like, once everything is locked in and you feel empowered and you feel well rested and there is a new status quo to your feeding, to the napping, to the whole thing, and you feel like, I've totally got this. If baby banged their head and you added in a quick comfort breastfeed, like, I'm not the sleep police. I'm not the
totally
feeding police.
fine.
But then if you noticed, we're now like trending back in this snacky cycle, you've got the tools to be like, cool, we're going to pull back. We're not saying you can never, ever like possibly comfort feed your baby ever again, or like, no, we're taking off on the aeroplane. I know their ears will pop, but it's not on the 4-hourly schedule. Like, there are lots of scenarios here. It's just when we are making change, because you and I are sleep consultants.
This is correct.
That's all.
Yep. Great. Love it.
All right.
Oh my gosh. I can feel
the
listening count dropping.
I could almost do another one of these. Now I'm like, right. What are we going to say next?
Well, our whole mantra is we don't like to sugarcoat things. And I think when we're bringing these to light, it really is thought-provoking for a lot of families, and they can sort of step away. Maybe they feel maybe they're a little bit pissed with what we've got to say, but they'll walk away and they'll sort of have a little think about it and then go, oh, I understand what they were trying to elaborate on. And maybe this is something that I maybe could potentially work on, and it's not as scary as I thought it was going to be. And ultimately, if it's going to lead to better sleep or an ability to sleep train consistently and successfully, then, it's a great sort of way to shape someone's thoughts about a particular topic. So
absolutely. And do you know what I find 9 times out of 10 when these sorts of topics come up, maybe on a consultation when we're talking about moving away from demand feeding, or we're talking about crying or whatever it is often parents will already have had all of these thoughts but have felt very confused about it. And so hopefully this can also be a voice of reason done in a trending way. For you to be like, that makes sense. I've been thinking, like, I know me feeding every 20 minutes is what's getting in the way, or I know there is nothing wrong with 4 minutes of crying, and me being in there every 10 seconds might be getting in their face a little bit, or I know I stare at the monitor all the time.
It's my favorite show, and I'm going to have to switch it off.
I need to move over to Selling Sunset or something. It's often parents already have these thoughts, and then it's just the sounding board.
Yeah.
To be like, okay.
And that other families think of this too. Parents all over the world are thinking exactly the same thing.
Absolutely. Even me. All right. Well, on that note, if we haven't lost every follower by now, but if you've got thoughts, I know. If you've got thoughts or follow-ups or anything, pop them in the comment section. There's always room for conversation around all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to hear your thoughts, whether they agree with us or not, and we can go from there.
And just know that we are chronic people pleasers, so Beck and I will probably have a therapy session after this.
Yeah, and I've got a wine on standby just so that I can sort of sleep well tonight.
We'll need to be swaddled in our miracle blanket swaddles, rocking back and forth.
Yeah, I know. Oh, my goodness.
All right. Well, thank you for bearing with us. I actually kind of had fun. And we will see you, hopefully, on the next episode of Nap Trapped.
See you, team. Bye.
Bye. Before we go, Nap Trapped is here to be your ongoing sleep resource. Subscribe so you've got us for the next regression, the next nap transition, the next curveball. Head to naptrappedpodcast.com to browse our full episode library by age and topic. Whether you're dealing with newborn sleep right now or prepping for what's ahead, we've organised everything so you can find exactly what you need when you need it. You've got this, and we've got you.